Right, good evening everyone, welcome to Hilly Stream, and we're here for round 3 of the season in the Tuesday division here in WAOF1, and it's our first wild card of the season. If you follow all our divisions, you will have seen wild cards on the last Thursday and Sunday as well, and now it's Tuesday's turn for their first one. So, Eagle Eye viewers that usually stream in might notice this short qualifying 50% race, and the reason for that is that our wild card is basically a double header. So we're going to be doing Great Britain short qualifying 50% in a normal direction, and then we're going to be doing a one-shot qualifying followed by a 35% race on the reverse track. So that is our wild card. There's no other added bits. It's a pretty simple, straightforward one, but it does mean 2 races, and both races do receive, or the finishers in both races do receive 4 points. So there we go. We've got 19 in the lobby at the moment racing. Pretty sure I put myself in spectator mode. Yes, I have. Looks like Falco's just joining. Oh, he was already part of 19. I didn't realise that. I think they are expecting a full grid. So it's somebody missing. Not sure who. Perhaps if somebody else just joined. Who was that then? Beastie. It was Beastie. So we're up to the full 20. Hello, Mr. Whale. Hello. Hello. Well, come out of the water, gift waving. Hello. Yeah, so that's about it really. So that is what we are doing tonight. So usually, of course, it's full qualifying 50% race, but as I say, short quali 50% race followed by one shot quali 35% race on the reverse track. Will people use their same setups? Will those who maybe got a bit more time on their hands maybe have practiced both and got a setup for each track? I'm sure they do require slightly different setups. I'd imagine they're similar, but I would imagine they are slightly different. For the simple reason that you're going in reverse, which means instead of being a clockwise track like Silverstone is, on the reverse track it's an anti-clockwise track, so it's going to be straining the right tyres more than the left. Whereas on the normal layout it strains the left tyres. Particularly Maggots and Beckett's. Actually, it's the corner at the end of Maggots and Beckett's. Is it Chair? I can't remember. It's got a name. I just can't remember it, and I'm too lazy to bother looking it up. So here we go, into qualifying. Will short qualifying throw something different up? Will it still be the usual people at the front, but will it still be the usual people at the back that would leave us normally in Q1? That does throw something different up in that sense. One thing I'll tell you about Silverstone, it's now an extremely difficult race to one-stop. It's very high wear here at Silverstone now on this year's game, but you've got to do it. If you want to get anywhere in the race, you've got to one-stop. A two-stop doesn't work around Silverstone because the pit lane is so slow and it's so long, which means the actual overall time in the pit lane for your pit stop is the highest of the season, even above Imola, which is similar. Top of my head, I can't remember exactly, but I think it's like 26 seconds lost for a pit stop. So it might even be 27, but it's very high in a way, which pretty much rules out the two-stop. You've got to one-stop this. So we're into qualifying. 20 drivers on the grid. It's a full grid once again for WAOF1 this season. What a season it's been in each of the divisions. Full grid on most races. We're a little short on Sunday, but no full-time drivers actually dropped their seats. They just couldn't attend on Sunday gone. So the high attendance starts the season. Our second season, of course, on 2025 remains intact. And long may it continue. So, shock horror, Daguna is out first on track. He's quickly followed by the Alpina Boss Membrane. But let's see how we go then. So, pole position, we're going to be looking at a 20, probably a low 26. Don't think we're likely to see a 25 tonight, but I think the likes of Callum was still racing. He's not racing in WAOF1 this season. If he was, he'd be racing in the Thursday division, the fast tier, as we're kind of referring to it now, or I am anyway. So if he was still on track, I think we may well see a 25. But I'm not saying these guys can't do it, but we'll see. Let's see how they get on. Will be some very fast times. It's just whether they break the 20 into the 25s or not. Gunnar being closely followed at the moment from Boss Membrane. It is a high-speed track, Silverstone, so it is low wings generally. Particularly on this year's game, it's very different to 24 in that the 24 people tend to run higher than you'd expect at tracks on their wings. 25, the opposite, people tend to run lower than you'd expect, really. On board with Gunnar then for the first lap of the evening. So you may have noticed Boss Membrane did back off a bit. He's now got an RB on the back of him, but I think that RB's just come out the pits. So guys, really to watch out for here. We do have a few reserves in, so there are some drivers I'm not sure about. CRE Gory F1, or I'm now going to call him Gregory, if I can manage to say that all the time. I've got no idea on his pace. It's brand new to the league, so absolutely no idea. There was another driver as well. Meldrum is reserving, and once again I've got absolutely no idea on his pace, so that's going to be, those two are going to be a surprise for us all. First laps, you want to get a decent lap on the board on your first one, but it's about getting a decent banker on the board, really. So as you saw there, way wide of the apex there from Gunnar through Stowe. Not deliberate, I think it was something to do with the curb on the outside, just made it a bit difficult for him to pull the car over. But he already at 26.8, that's a pretty good first lap. 27.0 from Boss. Steersy on the lap, just going through Stowe as well. Other drivers crossing the line ahead of us. Red Bull about to cross the line. Don't know if they're on the lap or not. Doesn't look like it. The Haas was, though. That was Watson. 27.0 goes ahead of Boss Membrane into second. Here's Steersy. 26.2 on a first lap. What a lap from Steersy. So maybe we will see a 25 if he's that close already. This is Gregory now. He's got a car in front of him. Both on laps. So Gregory goes fourth, 26.9. So decent pace from him, clearly. Well, 27.4. Who have I missed? Ryanair's gone into P2 on the 26.5. Here comes Barry into the final couple of corners. Struggles a little bit through the second of those. 27.2 nonetheless, goes P8. Seeing if I can find this Williams. It's Falcal. Well, actually, let's stick with Falcal and we'll do the hilly hop back with him. So, across the line then, bit of overtake down to turn 1. Switch back to medium, flat out through turns 1 and 2. Keep it nice and tight on turn 2 so that you can open up the corner into turn 3. Down the third gear, open up the steering, bit of power just to take you up to 4. Sort of glide round the corner, open up the steering, flat out through 5. DRS open as Tolu takes provisional pole 26.1. So 25 is looking pretty likely now, I would say. And then we head into the long, I forget the name of the corner, but long right-hander, can be very slippery. And that flat out through the right, flat out through Cops. anyone is listening, if you hear me say I can't remember the name of a corner, feel free to fill me in on the stream chat. Feel free to talk to me at all on the stream chat, and I'll always try and reply. I sometimes miss them for a little bit, but I do try and keep an eye on it best I can. I'll down to Stowe. A little bit wrong at Stowe, but not disastrous. His inside curve maybe takes a little bit too much curve, and that's unsettled the car, and it took a lot longer to get on the power. So plenty of time in that for Wildcard, but P11 27.071. He's pretty fast for a P11, considering it's just the first laps as well. Here's Rich in a Haas this week. A lot of reserve in Rich. So he's shown his pace. There's no doubt that he's got pace. Anything early on for Rich? He's been involved in a few incidents in his first few weeks in WAOF1, but I don't think that's anything to worry too much about with him. I think it's things he can iron out. He's not been found guilty of all of them either, so it's not a case of everything's been on him at all. Yeah. Looks like a very, very capable driver in my opinion. Flat through Cops as we head into Maggots and Beckett's. Flat through both parts. Just a shift down to 7th just to help the rotation. DRS down a long straight. This is the best overtaking opportunity down to Stowe. There are other little opportunities around the track, but this one, that one down to Stowe tends to be the best one. As I guess at most tracks, the longest straight with DRS tends to be the best opportunity you're going to get around a lap. That's a 26.2 from Rich, puts him into P3, very close to Steersy, but just behind. Coming into the long left-hander, followed by the very long right-hander. It's like it goes on forever, but you can actually open up the steering and get on the power a lot earlier than you might first think. There's a lot of time to be had in that corner if you nail it correctly. Flat through Cops. You can see it is best to shift down. He's not actually on the lap though, Beastie. I've just realised he's going round in no ERS, so he's not actually on the lap. So we switch to JT Gent. JT Gent, a little bit old school, going with hot lap. It's not something you see people generally do on this year's game. It's much faster, if I'm honest with you, to use medium and overtake. I mentioned that last week, or was it the first? I think it was the first week of the season at Spain. Saw Kev doing it because gotten out of the habit now. He's using medium and overtake now. Steersy's helped him with that, his teammate. Gent into Stowe. See, he's still got 40% battery at this point of the lap. That's a good 30% of battery that he's probably not used that he should have by that stage. He's going to cross the line with 40% battery still available, and that's a lot of time down a straight. 30% deploy, say. 28.9 from Gent. So who's out there? Ryan's a bit further round, so let's go to him. Ever so slightly down through sector 1, 39 thousandths, so not very much. Oh, the curb's just pulled him round, oversteered. Just the curb at such high speed just caused oversteer, which has spun him round, Ryan, and that's obviously an end to that lap. So let's switch to Ozers, who also touches the curb. Did look to me like Ozers got a lot less curve than Ryan, which is probably why it pulled Ryan round, but not Ozers. DRS open then for Ozers, so he heads down to Stowe. too much battery used at this point. So that's just a slight amendment that he needs to make. So you're actually on your run to the line, ideally you don't want to be going under 10% before that point. It does significantly reduce the amount of power that goes through the car. So Ozer's 26.465 goes into P6. Let's look at the other Ferrari then, let's see how well it can do. Quite catch the first sector time as James goes provisional pole. 26.101, but Steersley immediately replies, and we do have a 25. So 1 minute 25.878 from Steersy. Very quick indeed. Well then, heads down, picks up a little bit of toe. Slow moving Alpine. So I've just realised it's not actually on the lap. Sorry guys, my apologies. Should have known actually, because he'd improved to the 26.645. Gregory, that's good to see from. Always good to see from a new driver. You've not seen him race before. Nicely gets out of the way at Stowe, even though he was coming into the pits. Look, still made sure he got out of the way of what was actually his teammate. So Falcao about to cross the line and improves to a 26.3. That moves him right the way up to 6th. She's just slightly ahead of Gregory. Barry, he's just on his way down to Cops. Oh, runs out wide. Track extended. It's not invalidated him. Oh, but he's not. He's switched his ERS off, so he's not on the lap. Josh also reserving tonight, so not sure if it's his first race in WAOF1 or not. Because Josh is the one that was going to be doing co-coms with me on Tuesday nights, but we can't get it to work, unfortunately. He's not on Xbox, you see, he's on PlayStation, I'm on Xbox. And unfortunately, some validation from Meldrum. I'll try and actually, if he's coming around to start a lap, actually, no, he's heading to the pits. I was going to say, if he's going to come around and start a lap, then we'll go to him. Who is on a lap? Chris isn't, Tolu isn't, Josh isn't, so Tolu's into the pits, Chris into the pits as well. I'm quite sure there with that line, as Meldrum retires out. Not managed to successfully get a lap on the board. Josh, see if Josh pits. Yeah, we're at 3 minutes 50 left, look, so yeah, his fuel light's flashing, so he's going to be pitting as well. So that's everybody now back into the garage, but there is an Alpine on the way out, if I can find them. It's Boss Membrane, currently set P11, that's not where you would expect to be on the grid, but that is testament to just how tight it is. Steersy's on pole by about a quarter of a second at the moment. After that, 4 attempts down to P. Call it 4.5 attempts, then covers 2nd to 11th. Which, track like Silverstone, it's a mid, sort of mid to high 120s lap. So around the 126, 127 sort of area lap. That is really close. The Gooner as well, currently in P13, just ahead of his teammate. Tuesdays, guys, it's becoming pretty sweaty. Boss Membrane invalidated his out lap, obviously that doesn't matter. I think, by the way, he's come out, because he's where he is, the reason he's come out a little bit early for a final run is simply, well, I was going to say in case he invalidates, but actually, that can't be the case, because he's under 2 laps of fuel, so even if he does invalidate, that is it for Boss. So needs to find that line of driving super fast, but within the limits, because it's much more important for Boss here to climb up to sort of 5th or 6th than it is to worry about trying to get pole at the moment. He needs to be in a decent point scoring position. Oh, just it's oversteer. said, because of the fuel situation, I don't think he can back out. He's just going to have to go with this. So that certainly wouldn't have helped his lap, as Josh gets disqualified, blocking in the pit lane apparently. Odd scenario. So Boss, because of that blocking in the pit lane, I just missed his split one time there. Therefore, see Josh start from the back. So, got reasonable pace, Josh. I drive him in another league where he does very well. This is not the help. Well, this Ferrari's in trouble because Boss is on a lap. Which Ferrari was that? That was Ozer's. Ozer's is in trouble because that is very much reportable. Boss will not be happy with that at all. Ozer's has completely blocked Boss membrane there. We got Rich. He's on a lap. James is about 7 seconds behind on track. So let's sort of switch between the two. Rich just over a tenth and a half up through sector 1. That puts him on Tolu's time. James about half a tenth down and struggles into the left-hander a bit as well. That won't help. Tolu finishes his qualifying 26.115, has him in P3 at the moment. Rich now 3 tenths up through sector 2, really handy time, that sends him into the 25s. Can he push Steersy here? Nice and comfortable through Stowe. All about these last couple of corners, and they're pretty good. I think he can push here. 26.0 puts him into P3. Gregory, one of our new drivers, goes into P2, 26.0. James, I lost James. Where did James go? He's retired out. He stayed on the same time. No, but he didn't. He went ahead of Tolu into P4. Chris here, just trying to keep an eye on the timings board as well. As Steersy goes even faster, 25.812. Very nice lap. Chris invalidates. Balcow has invalidated. What about Watson? Here he comes to the line, improves, but stays P12. Well, I think he must have invalidated actually, because a 3/10 improvement would have actually seen him jump up ahead of Chris into P6. But he stayed P12, so he must have actually invalidated. But it's pole position then for Steersy and newcomer Gregory, or CRE Gory F1, has taken P2 with a fantastic last lap there. Rich also a fantastic lap, will line up P3 on the grid. James in 4, continuing his fine qualifying form at the start of the season. Super tight in the Tuesday division. 3/4 of a second covering the top 13, and that 13th driver is Boss Membrane, who undoubtedly would have improved if he hadn't have been blocked by Ozers. And unfortunately Meldrum not getting the time on the board, and Josh disqualified for blocking the pit lane exit, I believe it was. We'll do the full rundown on the formation lap as usual. He's short qualifying, but the guys will still take the usual break. So I'm just going to disappear for a few minutes, guys, and I'll be back shortly, ready for the formation lap. Okay guys, back with you just in time before they go into the formation lap, and as you can see, it's raining quite heavily. So make sure your tyres on the grid. Let's take you through the starting order first then. So Steersy starts pole with newcomer Gregory starting alongside in P2. Rich in P3 with James alongside in P4. Tolu starts 5 with Chris in 6. Falcao in 7. Ryanair starts in P8. Ozer starts 9 with Daguna rounding out the top 10. Wales starts 11 with Watson in 12. Boss Membrane in 13 alongside teammate Beastie in 14. Barry starts P15 with Kevin 16. Chewbacca in 17 with Gent in 18. Meldrum, who didn't get a time on the board, will start P19, and Josh, who was unfortunately disqualified, will round out the grid in P20. So the top 3 start on inters, the following 3 start on full wets. Falcao and Ryanair in 7 and 8 starts on inters. Ozers on full wets. Gunnar, Whale, Watson all starting on the inters. Boss Membrane, Beastie, Barry on the full wets. Kev starts on inters, Chewbacca, Gent, Meldrum all on the full wets, and then Josh at the back will start on the inters. So we pretty much know this year's game, the inters are stronger out of the 2 tyres regardless of the conditions. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 laps just for a racing line. Once the darker sort of racing line starts to appear, where the water's been dispersed by the cars, that's when the Inter's advantage really starts to kick in. The suggestion of starting on the wets for me is these guys want to get off to a good start and then box for Inters. Once the wets are clearly slower, they'll box for the Inters and get that pit stop out of the way early doors. Then look to undercut with their fresher tyres, but big question, obviously. Well, will any of the Inter starters be able to no-stop this race? My suspicion is no, because I can only go by the dry weather. I've not done a wet race here yet this year, so going by the dry weather, the tyre wear is very, very high around Silverstone, so I don't think the Inter starters will be able to actually no-stop this race. So I think we will see everybody in at some point. They're going with the idea that the Inters within a few laps will become the quicker tyre and allow them to either get away at the front, which the first 3 will want, or fight their way through the field. 5 lights are on. Long pause, but out they go, and we are off in Silverstone. A few cars move to the middle. There's a bit of contact further back. It's a Ferrari. I think it was Whale into the back of the car ahead of him. Get off the line way better than he expected, or did the car ahead not move? Tolu also down to the back and is making his way across the gravel at the moment. Sorry, let's get back to the front and see the racing. So Gregory and Rich alongside here. Let's just go on board with Rich. Can he get a run down into the left-hander? He's going to look to dive his way through. He was just about alongside the rear wing, I think. And Gregory, despite on the inside here, probably won't get the run as he gets a little touch from Chris as well, who'd made his way onto the inside of him. Still side by side, the McLaren and the Williams. Yellow flag at the back as Tolu retires on track. Oh, Tolu. Can't be doing that, man. Never, just drive round to the pits if you got to, but you can't retire on track. Totally leaves the session as well. So, first lap, we are coming up to the end, and our biggest gainers, Daguna up 4, Watson up 5, Beastie up 4, Josh is up 6 places, having started at the back. He's now up to P14. So biggest lap 1 gainer is Josh, as a few drivers are already in Now is that damage? All of the pitters apart from Whale were on the wets. You've got to assume that this is for damage to Mercedes as well. What a disaster for Meldrum as he has to stack behind his teammate. But yeah, it's clear all damage. That disaster really at the start has cost these drivers big at Silverstone. As Meldrum manages to pick up 10 seconds as well. I'm not actually sure how he's managed to do that. I actually genuinely don't know how he's managed to pick that 10 seconds up. He didn't have it when he... I don't think it was for entering the pits fast. Maybe it was. Maybe I've just missed it. So, let's just get back to the tyres then. So Chris, the highest of the wet runners at the moment, using the advantage of those tyres to get himself up into P3. The early advantage, of course, but when we start seeing a slightly darker line appearing, I wouldn't say it's appeared enough yet to give advantage to the intermediate drivers. I think the wets have still got a slight advantage at the moment. Rich absolutely going after Beastie, by the way. He's already reduced that gap down this lap. So, will Beastie be able to get his head down and pull that gap out? Or will Rich be able to do something about it? As Gunnar's down the outside here of Gregory. Sorry, it was a James actually, wasn't it? Sorry. Rich sets fastest lap in that pursuit. Beastie in, Ozers in. They are going to Inters. Let's check in if there's any... No wing changes on those two cars, so that looks like that's their pit stop. Not forced to pit in these conditions, of course, but they already feel that they weren't getting the grip and the desired grip out of the wet tyres that they will on Inters, so in they come. So everybody who has made a stop, including those guys on the first lap due to the damage, all changed to intermediates. At the moment, Chris pulling away from Gregory, who's on the Inters, but falling behind the two in front who are both on the Inters. You got... that said, Gregory has been under pressure from James, who's also in turn been under pressure from Gunnar, so would explain that really. It's a fantastic debut so far from the Williams man. Okay, drops a couple of places off the start, but a brilliant qualifying. Showing some good awareness as well in qualifying, moving out of other drivers' way. Looks like a good addition to me. Knows what he's doing. If he's got CRE, I keep calling him Gregory, but it's CRE Gory. I think he's got CRE in front of his name. I suggest he's been doing this for some time. See that turn 2 not quite flat out in these conditions. See that there with James just having to just a tiny lift. Gunnar wants to be a bit careful there, putting his right front alongside the rear left of James. James will be fully entitled just to shut that door on in there. So, thoughts are that the Inters are beginning to become faster, although James is still close to the back of Gregory, and you can see the dark patch on the track now where the racing line is. That will become more visible as we continue, but look at Gunnar's grip difference over James. Through Copse, and through goes Gunnar into P5. Very good start to this race for Gunnar. 5 places now. Josh now up 8, by the way. He's up to P12, having started last. It's going very nicely indeed. Watson here on James as well. I think we're going to see James in the end of this lap. Overtaken by Gunnar and immediately under pressure from Watson as well. Well, no. In fact, he's staying out. Well, I guess while he's actually in the train, he doesn't necessarily have to pit. It doesn't actually hurt him very much if he drops down a few positions just to save the actual battling. Because actual battling will cost him time. So if he was just here to say if Watson had a go there, he wasn't close enough. But I think that's Meldrum, who I think's fallen a lap down and is off track towards the end of sector 1, and he's going to wait here for all the cars to go past. He's off track and in hot lap mode, so that's not going to help. Moves immediately over off the racing line to allow the rest through as well. So, just looking back up here, she's still holding Steersy in view, as you can see from Rich is on board. Steersy not too far. I mean, that's one mistake. If Steersy makes a mistake, Rich is all over him. So, Rich makes his own little mistake there, which just gives Steersy a few more attempts. Gap, and Chris looking very comfortable at the moment in P3, can't do anything about the guys ahead. As I say, I think we've got to the point where the Inters are clearly the better tyre now. James has now dropped out of 1 second behind Gunnar. It's not a massive thing, of course, because no DRS, but look at the difficulty with grip. And Watson, without a doubt, will be behind James's RB thinking, I've got so much more grip. It's taking advantage of that grip and actually getting yourself past. As into the pits as Chris. So he's made his move. He's made his stop and he's on his way out. It looks to me like he's going to come out. It's going to be close, I think, with the Mercedes. Well, it's the lap Mercedes of Meldrum, isn't it? So the Meldrum's actually going to go through. But looks like he actually realises there's the McLaren coming out the pits and backs out. Meldrum just looks like he's struggling a bit in these conditions. Never easy. So Chris exits in P12, but with nice, fresh intermediates that presumably the idea is to go to the end. So I guess the first question is, can he undercut his way into the gap to the two ahead of him pre-pit stop? But more importantly, I think, can he extend the lead over Gregory and Gunnar to make the end of this race a bit more comfortable for him? He's definitely favourite for that third podium spot pre-pit stop, so handily for Chris. He's got 5 seconds until he reaches another car, and that car is his teammate for tonight. Okay, it's a reserve in Josh, so they're not technically teammates, but it is the other McLaren, so I don't think Josh will battle him hard. And then there's another sort of 3.8 seconds ahead of that, because that's James into the pits. So following lap, James in. Clearly the wets are no good anymore. And we see him Boss in as well. No, Boss is carrying on another lap, but you can see how difficult he is. How difficult it is for him finding the grip. I'm trying to see the tyre temperatures. They look like they're in the mid-80s. Not ideal for full wets. That's Meldrum into the pits, crawling over the line, and retires from the session. That's not enough. Was visibly struggling, to be fair. Looking at where James is coming out. He's come out right on top of Beastie. Made that very early stop. He's with Ozers as well. A tiny bit of contact between Ozers and James there. It's, oh, goodness me. It's like there was a bit more, a bit of argy-bargy by the looks of it from Ozers. That's a bit disastrous for James. He would have been hoping to get back on track just ahead of these guys. Don't worry about the yellow flag, by the way. That's the retired car of Meldrum's just come back out onto the track. Luckily, it has come back onto the track in loads and loads of space, so it's not going to affect anyone. Steersy sets fastest lap. Rich immediately beats it by about a quarter of a second to 3/10. So clearly, Rich, when he gets these good laps in, it clearly has the pace to catch Steersy, but just got to eliminate any little mistakes. So the problem comes doing those laps consistently, lap after lap. So I don't know why we're down watching well, my apologies. Let's go up to the battle for P3 then. Let's go on board with Gunnar as he looks to challenge Gregory. CRE, I can't keep saying CRE Gory, it's too long. So I'm just going to keep calling him Gregory. Watson all over this as well. Watson, another one having a very, very good race, by the way. Let's have a little look at the position changes. Yeah, it's Gunnar up 6, Watson up 7. Kev, by the way, in P9, up 7. I'll tell you what, if these guys keep this sort of performance level up to the end of this race, I can have an incredibly difficult driver of the day shout. I haven't actually checked with the admins, but I presume, as the two races are both full points and are being treated as two separate races, it's not a case of one's a sprint and one's a feature race. I do assume that we're going to have two driver of the days tonight. That's the way I'm treating it. So Gunnar, is there anything he can do to get past Gregory here? See, the front two are just gone, absolutely gone. See, oh no, he's not into the pits, he's round. Boss Membrane's round at Stowe, and it looks like he's just gone maybe a lap too many. And you would think the damage increased, as I think that's caused a VSC. So anybody coming round to the pits now's your time. Full track yellows. This is there's no oh, hang on, is the safety? No, it's not. So Boss Membrane's got himself disqualified from the session for blocking the pit lane. That'll still be looked at. And oh, James picks up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. Wow. That will not be a happy chappy. Who's taken advantage to pit under the VSC. Oh, Whale has. Chewbacca has. It is going to drop him to the back, but their pit stops are done. They got nice fresh tyres, especially over those guys that started on the intermediates. So is this a way, maybe, back into the race for Whale and Chewbacca? So they're not going to suddenly find themselves at the front, but could they sort of find themselves amongst the sort of others in those positions that were immediately ahead of them on track before the pit stop? Didn't stay out for the duration of the pit stop there, the VSC, so it's not, you know, they haven't got the full advantage of pitting under a VSC. Which, around Silverstone would be a massive advantage, by the way, with everybody's speed reduced down. I think James just got past Beastie for P12. Gregory is now down to P6, and Falcao promotes himself to P5. Watson's up to 4. And Gunnar's in 3 now. Try to ignore this man for driver of the day at the moment, although it could come down to a battle between Gunnar and Watson for driver of the day, you know, P3 and P4. There are other candidates, by the way. The two at the front have been fantastic. The gap they've pulled is outstanding, both of them. Kev has got to be a shout as well. Josh has got to be a shout as well. So This genuinely, at the moment, is looking like it could be one of the hardest drive of the days I've ever... I feel like I say this every week, but it feels like this could be one of the most difficult ones I've ever had to pick. It's going on. James passed Ozers. Ozers is suddenly 17 seconds behind. So, presumably... No, he didn't pit. Something's happened to Ozers. Steersy sets a new fastest lap of the race. Oh, Barry! Oh, goodness me. That was close. I mean, Wells' heart probably just sank in the cockpit of that Ferrari as he suddenly would have seen his mirrors become very lime green. Barry, to be fair to him, did very, very well to get that car stopped to not run into the back of the Ferrari. Switching back to the battle for P3 because it is the biggest battle going on. Into the pits is Josh. Started from the back up to P10. Now making his stop. I think he's going to come out somewhere around Wales. He's currently in P15. So the first Ferrari is Ozers. Oh, I may have this wrong. He may actually get out here ahead. He's so slow. He's so slow. But look, he's reached the line. He's not going to be as far back as I thought. He's going to come out pretty much level with Beastie. There's the view from Beastie as Josh re-enters the track, manages to come across and defend that position, which you've got to feel is pretty important for Josh's race. He can get on now. 3 seconds, just over 3 seconds to the next car, which is Ozers. Can't believe Ozers must have had a spin and I've missed it. Unbelievable. Into the pits there is Falcao, I believe. Yeah, it's Falcao, so that's from P4. Or was it P5? I think it was P5 actually. I think he was behind Watson. It was either 4 or 5, don't matter which. So we're getting towards the halfway distance as Chris now sets fastest lap of the race. He's climbing his way back up, look, he's just passed the pitted Falcao. 2 more into the pits, by the way. Kev and James are in. So I think it's pretty clear to say now that those guys that started on the full wets will definitely have regretted that. The fact that James is now having to come in again. Oh, he had the drive-through actually, didn't he? I forgot. Yeah, James is serving his drive-through. After as many laps as he could. Annoyingly for Kev, he's just managed to nip ahead of Kev. And look at James having served the drive-through, comes back out on track, and once again he's right on the back of Ozers. So last time he was actually just in front of Ozers, but Ozers, I mean, the temperature in his tyres managed to get past. Seems to be a bit of argy-bargy between them. James this time, no, has the 4-lap tyre advantage, and remembering Ozers lost so much time, he must have had a spin or something. Trip off track maybe into the gravel, something happened to him which will not have done his tyres any good. So it's massive advantage to James in this battle. 2 more pit stops. Gregory is in and Ryan Hour are in, both in. So I think that tells us there's definitely no 0 stops going on. I wasn't expecting it in a way, not at Silverstone. Still several drivers out there that are potential 0 stops, but so it's the top 4 now. So Steersy, Rich, Gunnar and Watson all haven't pitted yet, but I do think we'll be seeing all of them in very, very soon as James goes past Ozers on the approach to Stowe. Comfortable overtake round the outside, but nicely done in these conditions. Just having to do a little correction there across the line. did it nicely. So Watson, keeping Gunnar absolutely honest here in Silverstone, battling on the way. It just feels like there's so little you can do. It's difficult to overtake around here in the dry now. Even more difficult in these conditions. And Steersy pits from the lead. Just looking at the track map. If these guys stay out, it should be pretty close with Steersy as Steersy exits. So Watson's in. He's going to look to undercut his way in front of Gunnar. Gunnar might regret not pitting. I do think track position was the way to go. So Gunnar, as I say, he's going to be pretty close here with Steersy on the exit. Oh, excuse me. So, just to confirm that for you, there is Steersy. So Gunnar into P2, but yet to pit. Steersy out on fresh rubber. And the gap between Steersy and Rich was still pretty low, so Steersy would be happy that he's pitted in first, but look, he's going to want to get a move done here. He's not going to have much temperature in these inters. It looks like the fresh inters with the grip, despite the temperature not being up. Well, it did get him through, but Gunnar gets him straight back on the following corner. Through on the inside, and Gunnar back into P2. But this is not what Steersy wanted. He did not want to end up having to battle someone on his outlap. This is playing into Rich's hands. It may not give Rich enough to be able to take the lead of the race, but it should reduce the gap. I know there'll be some people saying, well, why is Gunnar bothering to fight? But that's what it's about. And it's racing. Yes, Gunnar's going to have to pit, but the fact is, Gunnar fights this off, and now Steersy up the inside at Stowe. If Gunnar wants to pit, he's going to have to, he's going to have to stay out, I think, because he would have had to have braked. So now Steersy through, so it's going to be another lap for Gunnar. So you've got to think that Gunnar is now resigned to losing the position to Watson, but is going to try and fight back with fresher tyres later on. But let's not forget Chris, by the way, who's now up into P4. Done 9 laps on these inters, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can go to the end of this race. So he pitted lap 5. So 21 laps he's going to have to do on those intermediates. Zozer's evening gets even worse as he picks up 3 seconds. Feels like another week that's just, well, for this race anyway, don't forget we still got the reverse track to do, but it does feel a little bit at the moment like it's another week that just isn't going Ferrari's way. We've got a yellow flag, and it's Barry who is having the opposite fortune to his teammate this evening. Throws himself round, but keeps it going. Falcao. Oh, Ozers is out, and that's a crash, and that is a safety car. Well, Gunnar and Rich will have massive smiles across their face right now, because that is perfect for them. I wasn't able to see exactly what happened to Ozers. It was a very strange part of the track. I'll take you down to Barry. That's basically where Ozers crashed. He was just behind on the left, well, the right as we look on screen. On the left side of the track, though. And I can only assume he's gone flat out over the curb at turn 6, I think it is. And it spun his car right round and ended up in the wall. A very awkward place. Hoja's not having a great week when it comes to Silverstone. He was leading Silverstone in another league here the other day with, I think it was about 4 laps to go, and spun it and dropped the win, lost the win, and now he's out of the feature race here in WAOF1 Tuesdays So, well, where was Rich when this safety car came out? Because why is he not pitted? That's a reval. I thought he had come out for it in a place where he'd be able to pit. If not, he's been caught, and it's a... Well, either he's been caught out here, very unlucky-wise, and this is going to potentially be quite disastrous for him. No, Dad. Or he's made a mistake and not pitted himself, which, either way, is pretty disastrous. I say that, luckily, I don't know whether the other guys were kept to a certain speed there or not, but luckily the gap back to Gunnar is enough that I believe Rich will still come out in P2. Well, I don't believe it. He is going to still come out in P2. So, see, if that was full racing speed, then he might not have. But because it's reduced speed under the safety car, absolutely. Look, he's just reaching the line now. So it's not so bad for Rich, actually. So actually, maybe he realised that. Maybe he realised that he could do another lap under the safety car and only lose the place to Steersy. It just means an extra fresher lap. Sorry, I think I've ended up in the game chat here. I apologise if I put anybody off, but I'm just going to put myself back into a party. So, there you are, I'm back into a party. That had only just happened, actually. I've just realised it's 8:59. Well, it was, in a way, 9 o'clock. But, that had only just happened. I put myself into a party at 58, so... Right then, so it's everybody to fresh tyres, except JC Gent, for some reason, who's opted to stay out at the moment. On first in lap hold into, so I assume he will come in when he reaches the pits again. So Chewbacca picks up 3 seconds. That's never good under safety car, picking yourself up a time pen. I've done it once in my time and I was so annoyed with myself. You know, just don't cut the corners under the safety car. It's yeah. Sometimes it gets you out because you're having to drive so slowly. You end up turning in too early. So I've seen plenty of people do it. It's not like a... It's not as rare a thing as you might think it would be. So, obviously those that have fallen down the order, particularly with that lap 1 damage, will be over the moon with the safety car. It gives them a chance. Well, won't be so over the moon with it, because the reason for the safety car is that he's lost his teammate, so... slightly dampened for well, so from a personal perspective it gives him a chance to battle again, but won't be happy obviously with losing his teammate. So then, Steersy on 4 lap inters. 2 of those laps have been under safety car. Rich, brand new inters. Gunnar, again, he's brand new inters. Watson, 2 lap inters really, because 2 laps under the safety car. Same for Gregory, he'd be 3 laps. And we will be going for it. Well, I believe we will do another lap, but that will be the last one. So, people do need to get a move on here. I'm just looking, Whale is just approaching... It's just coming over the line and approaching turn 1. I think we're going to get another lap. But lap 24, I think it would be the last lap in a way, because the safety car is limited to a certain amount of laps, and I think it would be the last lap. But the fact that it's lap 24, we must have 2 clear laps of racing. So it should go through again, but the following lap will be the last one. So we must have lap 25 and 26. So those guys that haven't called up yet. Oh, it's coming in this lap! It's coming in this lap! Well, that's disastrous for anybody below P. Well, maybe not below P7. I think Kev and Falco are going to catch it. Gent might catch it. So, well, potentially, actually, this is an absolute masterclass from Gent, who opted to stay on the old inters, but he's going to catch the back of the field. But nobody behind him is going to. James might. It's going to be, to be honest with James, it depends where Steersy goes here. I assume he's going to go out of this final corner, and there he goes. So off Steersy goes. So yeah, James didn't quite catch. Oh, why is Jem pitted? Why did he pit? I can't believe Jem. Why did he pit? Honestly can't believe he's just pitted, unless his tyres were on the verge of blowing up, but I can't imagine they would have been. Okay, he was probably going to lose the place to James, but Whale and Beastie were never going to catch him in the laps that were remaining. For me, he's just thrown away a really solid finish there, Gent. Should have consolidated P13 though, which is a good thing, but I think that's a miscalculation from Gent there. But anyway, it's a 3 lap sprint for the win. Or is it a 4 lap? No, it's a 4 lap sprint for the win, I think. I think we're on lap 23. I'd love to tell you, but I got that recording thing with a microphone and lined out camera stuck in the top left of my screen, so I can't actually see the laps. I can see the stroke 26, but I can't see the first part. So that looks like a 0 to me, so are we earlier in this race than I thought we were? Must be able to move that. That's annoying. Remember, Steersy does have the older tyres here. Okay, it's not by much, but he's certainly going to have his work cut out to hold Rich off here. I think the problem for Rich comes, where on earth do you get past? Because as I say, it's hard enough to overtake at Silverstone with the aid of DRS. So without the aid of it, it becomes near impossible. We've seen a few overtakes, but it's mostly been when drivers have had big advantages in terms of tyres. Just gonna be. I have absolutely no idea what lap this is. Absolutely no idea. That looks to me like a 0, so we're on lap 20 out of 26. Can't be. Can't be. Well, I think we are. Yeah, it's lap. We are much earlier in this race than I thought we were, guys, because I'm just looking at the fuel on Rich's car, and he's got 7.2 laps of fuel left, so it is lap 20. What was I talking about previously? Sorry, why did I think we were right at the end of this race? I've got no idea. I've had a right senior moment there. Like I said, I blame the little recording symbol that's in the top left of my screen. You guys can't see it on stream, but it's on my screen. It's the little Twitch recording thing. Basically lets me know that the stream is actually still going. So it's sort of peeled off into two separate battles here. We've got the battle for P1 between Steersy and Rich, and we've got the battle for P3 that at the moment is between Gunnar, Watson and Chris. We've got a yellow flag out. No, we haven't. No, we haven't. Ignore it. It's the safety car glitch where the yellow flag stays out. It's not actually a yellow flag. Oh, Chris picks up 3 seconds. Well, that pretty much rules him out of the battle for P3. His attentions actually need to switch to Ryanair, who's penalty free in P7, is outside of that 3-second gap at the moment, but Chris now needs to concentrate more on making sure that gap remains. Yes, Gregory has a penalty as well, so... It explains why JT Gent pitted in a way, doesn't it? So, sorry Gent, I was talking absolute nonsense. Now I understand why you pitted. I don't understand why you didn't pit earlier, while the safety car was still out, but you must have thought he was doing another lap as well, I suppose. I definitely miscounted. I definitely thought it was going to do another lap, and it did. Don't seem to be getting anywhere in that battle for P3 at the moment. Everything seems to be pretty stalemate between them. So let's take a look at this one. Is the battle for P7 between Ryanair and Falcao. James is just bringing himself into this battle as well. He's just nipped to within 1 second of Falcao. Look behind us, which is ideal for Ryanair because James and Ryan are teammates. So Falcao now finds himself in an RB sandwich. RB leading the constructors at the moment, by the way, for a strong team. Even with the way that we do the teams here in WAOF1, where we put drivers into 4 pots based on pace, and then a pot 1 has to be with a pot 4, so the fastest with slowest, and then pot 2 and 3 together, you still end up with some teams that seem particularly strong. The RBs, I think, are definitely one of those teams. 2, in my opinion, very strong drivers. James a pot 2 driver, Ryan a pot 3, but I think Ryan is right at the top of the pot 3 drivers. So, as you can see, running around in 7th at the moment, perfectly capable of picking up top 10s. And James being a pot 2 driver, you would expect to be top 10. Really, you'd expect a pot 2 driver to be top 8, so... James might be able to achieve that if he can catch up close enough to Gregory. Again, though, we're still stuck in a bit of a stalemate everywhere at the moment. Barry's gotten past Josh down at the back. Just going to take a look at if I can find them, the penalties. 3 seconds, Chris and Gregory. Oh, wouldn't you believe it? Oh no, sorry, no, Chris hasn't gotten past Gregory as he was already ahead of him. But yeah, 3 seconds for Chris, 3 seconds for Gregory, 6 for Gent, 3 for Chewbacca, 3 for Barry, and 6 for Josh. And Watson picks up 3 seconds. Well, now that gives Chris the extra incentive to actually try and get past. That now is a battle for position, but it's absolutely beautiful for Gunnar. It will just feel a little bit of relief seeing that 3 seconds pop up for Watson. So now the 2 drivers that are battling, even if they get past, they will lose the position on the pens. We are now, by the way, on lap 24 out of 26. To the lead. Watson, despite those Slightly fresher tyres. As I say, they're not really 3 laps fresher like it suggests on the graphic there, because 2 of the laps that Steersy's done were under the safety car. I think Rich had actually done 2 extra laps. So I believe his tyres are 2 laps fresher, but the fact is, intermediates just don't see the wear that the slicks do, so 2 laps for intermediates just isn't anything like the effect that it would have on slicks. The only thing for Steersy is, as we go into these last couple of laps, if he hits some sort of tyre wear wall, he could suddenly lose a bit of lap time that could enable Rich to battle him here in these last couple of laps, but there's plenty of other battles going on, but I feel like we should be watching this one. It is the battle for the race win. Steersy's had many race wins here in WAOF1 now. It would be a first for Rich, but he is still a very new driver to the league. But he's driven fantastically tonight, I have to say. He's been absolutely brilliant tonight. Showed in the early stages that he did have the pace to stick with Steersy. It just felt like Steersy was just making less of those tiny little mistakes. You know, which hasn't made any mistakes in terms of, like, he hasn't gone off track or anything like that. It's just those tiny little mistakes where you maybe clip a curve a bit too hard or just a bit wide of the apex, those sorts of little mistakes. It just costs you little bits of time here and there. That, I think, has been the difference between the two, but both of these drivers fully deserve a shout for driver of the day, but I think due to the place gains, I think Gunnar in P3 is probably in with the biggest shout for that. As we've got an overtake on track, James goes past Ryanair. I think that's one teammate letting the other through, if I'm honest. Because I think what Ryan's doing there is saying go after the cars ahead, because they've got penalties. Well, Gregory anyway. So if James can get that to under 3 seconds, which he's just done, he potentially could get P6 here. And Steersy's just pulled away a bit for this final lap. So, oh, Steersy's off! Steersy's off! He's made a mistake! Oh, can you believe it? And that is going to hand race win number 1 here in WAOF1 to Rich. What a mistake from Steersy. Can you believe it? On the final lap. I can suddenly see the laps now. That's why I couldn't see the laps, because that yellow flag was constantly out. It's just disappeared. So now I can see the lap counter. That's why I couldn't see them previously. But as we head into the final sector then, Chris right on the back of Watson, but obviously again no DRS, he's not got the battery. Neither of them have, in all fairness, neither of them got any battery, but there's nothing Chris can do. But we are into the last few corners, so let's go to Rich and say well done to the Haas man. It was one mistake in the end from Steersy that hands the race win to Rich. Gunnar takes P2 and my driver of the day. Watson a superb P3, Chris a superb P4. Gregory on debut is going to lose a couple of places due to his penalty, so he finishes P7. Steersy promoted to P5, James promoted to P6. Ryanair wasn't quite within range, so he stays P8, but still a grand result for the two RBs. Falcao P9, Kev in 10, fantastic result from Kev as well. Whale fights back to P11 from that first lap damage. Beastie is going to come across P12. Then we got a penalty thing going on here. Gent is going to hold P13. Chewbacca will hold P14. Barry will hold P15. And Josh will finish his as I said, I think first WAOF1 race in P16. Doesn't tell a full story of his whole race because he was doing extremely well earlier on. I think pit stops and maybe the timing of that safety car has ruined that a bit for him. But there we have it. So action certainly throughout the race, and a bit of a disaster for several drivers at the start as there was some contact off the line for several drivers, and then the big story, Rich takes his first race win in WAOF1 down to a final lap mistake from Steersy that saw him run off track. Big mistake. And that is so unlike Steersy to do that. So unlike him. He'd definitely be kicking himself. Fastest lap of the race, by the way, was Steersy's 1:38.733. Obviously rain throughout. Let's go to the race director and just scroll through just so the stewards have got this in case they need it. There we go, and obviously they can pause the stream wherever they need to look. There's your tyre usage for you, pit stops, etc. And that's about it. Congratulations to our top three. But that's not about it for our stream tonight, because don't forget we are heading straight into a new race. We will be doing the reverse layout of the track, and it will be one shot qualifying followed by 35% race. So there we have it. Those settings have been changed. I'm just going to nip off to loo a second. I'll be back very shortly, but the settings are done. Okay guys, back with you. Just to update you, just reading through the chat in the Discord, and it looks like Steersy's steering wheel disconnected, and that's why he went off track. It did look very odd, so I'm not surprised, if I'm honest, to hear that that's what's happened. Because, yeah, it definitely looked very odd. So, Rich won't mind. He takes his first race win. Brilliant from him. He was absolutely outstanding anyway. Even if it had have ended up being P2 rather than a race win, it still would have been an outstanding race from him. So, oh, my controller batteries are low, guys, so just bear with me. I'm going to need to change them. Okay guys, so for this one-shot qualifying, what we will do, whichever driver it puts me on, it's completely random as far as I know, so whichever driver it puts me on, that's the driver we'll be watching. So it's put us on Barry, so we'll be watching Barry for a one-shot quali. Suddenly seeing the track from the opposite direction. He selected the soft tyres, which you would expect, of course. It's James leading the way at the moment. Whale in P2, Watson 3, Ozers 4. That's all changed all of a sudden. Apart from James, who is still leading the way. Barry has invalidated, so I will switch. Let's go to Gent then. Head up to doing cops in reverse. Oh, Gent invalidates. Lots of invalidations. Josh is actually the driver in P10. He's the first one not to have invalidated so far. So just not invalidating this lap, we'll see you get top 10. So what you got to do, it's Steersy looking at pole. Whale goes ahead of him. Steersy goes back ahead. Whale goes back ahead. Rich goes to the top. Steersy P2, James now 3, the two Ferraris 4 and 5, they're about to hit the line. So Steersy it is who takes pole, James P2, Rich 3, Whale 4, Gunnar 5, Falcao 6. There were some late invalidations there, so Josh has ended up P9. So Gent had invalidated, so he got P10, but Ozers, Chewbacca, Gregory, Kev, Chris, and Barry were all disqualified. Interestingly, I've got no idea why it would disqualify them, what's happened, but they will start in those positions. We'll do the full grid rundown once we get onto the track. Those that left the first race haven't rejoined us, so we are down to 16 for this race. I also know that Beastie wasn't able to do the second race, so he's not there as well. But looking down the list, it's all exceeded track limits, so I'm not sure why some are showing us disqualified and one not. Seems a bit odd, but there we have it. I guess those guys are disqualified, haven't exceeded track limits. Maybe the other driver that didn't do a lap just didn't get to the end of the lap, maybe. I don't know. No idea. So I believe there's going to be a break now, because they didn't get much of one in between, and obviously the admins were doing things. So I think they'll take a a quick break now. So just to confirm from that first race win in WAOF1 for Rich. Well done, and a fully deserved race win. Okay, very, very unlucky for Steersy's wheel to disconnect. Unlucky for Steersy, not for those that gain places from it. But so just to confirm that, and my driver of the day for that race was Gunnar, who ended up taking P2, gaining 8 places. In those conditions, to end up 8 places up from where you started and end up on the podium in P2, outstanding result. If Gunnar hadn't have done that, then Britch probably would have been my driver today as well. But the other thing, Gunnar full time as well. So not that really matters if I'm honest with you. But I think it was a fully deserved. It was between, to be honest, initially it was between Gunnar and Watson, but Watson got the 3 seconds, which ruled him out. So it ended up going to Gunnar, and then Rich would have been my next shout after that. So. Rich has just got his first race win in the league. He don't care about getting driver today. So I'm just going to remove myself from party and start a new one, just so I don't end up in the game chat during the race again. I don't think I will in a way, but just in case. There we go. So as said, we'll do the full grid rundown on the formation lap. And check out tyres. Looks like we're dry in this direction, so you can expect a 1-stop. Now, as I said, the tyre wear on slicks around here is very, very high. So the 1-stop is difficult. Now, I don't know whether it makes any difference that we're doing 35% or 50%, instead of 50%. I would assume that the tyre wear is worked out so that it doesn't matter so much, but, so that it should be the same. So a 1-stop, as I say, is very difficult. So any drivers that are actually quite bad on their tyres and actually wear them quite a bit with their driving style will struggle to 1-stop this race. So, it looks to me like Steersy's on softs. So, there's lots of drivers on softs. What is going on? Okay. Anyway, Steersy starts on pole with James alongside in P2. Race winner Rich starts P3 with Whale alongside in P4. Vast improvement. Gunnar up in 5th this time with Falco starting 6th. Watson starts in 7th with Ryanair in 8th. Josh starts P9 with JC Gent rounding out the top 10. Ozer starts P11 with Chewbacca in 12. Gregory in 13 with Kev in 14. Chris starts P15 with Barry in 16. So, some fast drivers, notably Chris, Gregory, and Ozers, in all fairness, that are outside the top 10 are going to be looking to make their way through the field here to get a decent point scoring position in this race. It's really, really difficult to overtake. It's a lot harder to overtake in the reverse direction around here than it is in a normal direction, and it's hard enough in a normal direction. So the reason for that is what is Stowe that takes you onto the main DRS straight. It's because it's a fast corner. The layout of the corner in this direction leads itself to the dirty air you get from the car ahead is really bad in that corner. So you lose time, and you have to lift it a bit more to be able to keep the car on track, which then makes it incredibly difficult to stay close enough to then overtake with a DRS, which is going to make it interesting seeing those guys trying to come through the field. Not impossible by any stretch of the imagination, but difficult. So we are lined up, as you can see. Most of the drivers starting on softs, which absolutely amazes me. Lights are out, away we go. Steersy seems to get off the line very well. How are we going to fare through turns 1 and 2? It is difficult through here. I think I saw a car off track there. It all seemed to fare pretty well though. Yeah, Ozers has dropped down to P16, so I think he must have been the car off track. It's not an ideal start for Ozers. Gent has dropped down quite a bit as well. Chris there getting past his McLaren teammate. Two different liveries on the McLarens, but they are both McLarens nonetheless. Watson will immediately be looking to try and get past Josh if he can. Josh doing absolutely the right thing. He was saying, look, there's room there if you want to try and go around the outside, but I'm not going to just give up the inside here. And he held the position over Watson very well. And he's protecting his teammate a bit. So let's just go to the position change. You see Gunnar up 1, Falco up 1, well down 2, Ryan up 1, Chris is up 7 places off of that start. By far the biggest gainer on lap 1. Next biggest would be Barry, who's up 3 places from 16 to 13. So Watson's in. He picked up some damage here somewhere. Just going to stick with this, guys, because we've got a yellow flag actually. It's Barry that's round in turns, well, it's sort of turn 1, turn 2 area, and we got Kev's in as well. So yeah, it's a wing change for Watson and a wing change for Kev. So there was contact somewhere along the line there on lap 1. That explains actually why when Watson was sort of going faster on the straight and getting alongside Josh, when they reached Cops he did back off, and that was clearly because he had wing damage. As Rich comes so close to dropping it in a very strange place. It's not even the corner that he was going around there, it was just a... That's a retirement. That is a crashed car. As Gent gets a 10-second penalty for a severe collision with Chewbacca, who is out of this race. It's a full course yellow, so it's a virtual safety car. The full safety car is not exiting the pit, so it's a virtual safety car. It's a very interesting penalty, that, from Chewbacca. I've not seen that before. Severe collision given a 10-second penalty. So it must have been a bad one. But understandably, these guys are coming in, so those that started on softs are in. Still do not understand. I do not understand why they started on softs. That seemed very strange to me. It's a one-stop race, medium to hard. You do have to go deep on the mediums to pull off the one stop, but well, these guys would be absolutely over the moon that the virtual has stayed out long enough that they've had their whole pit stop under the VSC. Gunnar to hards. Well, they've all gone to hards as Chris takes a trip off track. DRS enabled. Nobody picks up a drive-through penalty, so that's good news. Strange trip off track there from Chris. When he's shooting it, he suddenly realised that he was over the Delta, maybe slammed the brakes and has ended up off track because of hitting the brakes so hard. Gent, I think, about to make a move on Barry for P14. See what I mean though? Fall off through Stowe, and then it's so difficult to get it back. So, say Silverstone in both directions on this year's game is very much a low wing track. So everyone's running low wings, making it even more difficult to do anything. So Steersy, James and Rich battling it out for the race lead at the moment, but you'd think it's advantage to those guys that took advantage of the pit stop under the VSC. You've got to think they're all going to have to stop again. My opinion is here that it's actually advantage to the guys that started on mediums, because surely the guys that started on softs are two-stopping. I can't... Well, I honestly don't know, guys, is the honest answer to that question. I do not know what's going on here strategy-wise. I assume the wear on a 35% race is amended to be the same as a 50% race, in that you have to take the mediums to about 80% to then pit to the hards. Of course, I'm assuming that, but presumably these guys have done their practice to work that out. Surely they've gone on to check this sort of thing. Particularly those drivers like Steersy, for example, who's fighting for a championship, ultimately. Massive favourite to win the championship on Tuesdays, but, you know, in these early rounds, nothing's done. He's got to fight like he was fighting Callum last season. So, Ozer's... Ah, right. Well, yeah, no. Craig Rees ended up off track there. He hadn't pitted. That wasn't a pit stop. He's ended up off track and ended up in the pit exit. So, might actually be a little bit lucky that he's not been disqualified there. As Rich makes the move on James. Is that our sign that the softs are dying? Because Rich is through and he's immediately onto the back of Steersy. At the moment, although these guys are battling for the race lead, technically, as long as there's no safety cars involved between here and the pit stops, Daguna is actually leading this race. Because once all the guys ahead of him pit, he will definitely take the lead, and by some margin as well. Just try and stick with this battle. In comes Josh. Now he's coming off the medium tyre. Gregory in as well, which is pretty close here. Can he do it? The red light flashing on the back of Steersy, but Rich deciding not to go for that. Actually switched his ERS to none to win some energy back. Steersy's light is flashing because he is in no ERS, so he is saving his battery. And from the outside of Cops goes Rich and takes the lead of the race on track. James with a perfect seat to view the action ahead of him. So, just on the exit out of Maggots and Beckett's, or I suppose because we're in reverse, I've got to call it Beckett's and Maggots. Rich did just catch the back of Steersy, but that I think was because Steersy was in no ERS and Rich just moved his up ready to make the overtake and just got called out slightly. But nothing, I don't think it was anything that was is going to change any situation now. I don't think for a second that would be penalty worthy to the stewards. So James going about his business very well at the moment, just holding on to these two. I say holding on to these two, he's actually right on the back of Steersy now. In his Ozers to come off of his soft tyres. The biggest question here in my mind is, are those that pitted under the VSC going to be able to make it to the end of this race? And that's Barry round. Sets her free, calls the yellow flag, but he's okay. Well, I'd say he's okay. He's completely lost his front wing. Oh! Barry! Oops. Oh, what did he do? Oh, he's going to do it again. Oh, he'd be over the moon. Over the moon that I'm catching this. Off he goes. He's got it right this time. Sorry, Barry. That might have to get clipped. Barry just needs to carry on, by the way. He's in the pits at the moment. He's going to get lapped here, but just carry on because these guys have all got a pit yet. So when they do that, you will unlap yourself, Barry. So you'll be back onto the lead lap just in case of a safety car. So into the pits are Steersy and Whale. So it looks like the soft to hard is a genuine strategy here. I genuinely don't think you'd be doing that in a yellow flag pops up there. I was looking down at the track map and couldn't see any part of the track with a yellow flag, so I've got no idea what that was for. It may well have been Barry letting his teammate through, actually. It may have been Barry just slowing down to let Gunnar through. It's the only thing I can think of, if I'm honest. So, well, clearly James's softs are dead because Rich is flying away. He's 3 seconds up the road now, so you can fully expect James in at the end of this lap. We'll see about Rich. You won't want to allow Steers to see too much of an undercut, but you wouldn't mind a couple of laps fresher tyres either in the second stint. So Steersy is in fully clean air. Steersy's gone to mediums, by the way. He's not gone to hards, he's gone to mediums. So Rich goes through again, and he's going to do another lap. And oh, James has sped into the pit lane. The pit lane's difficult here on the reverse track. It's downhill braking, so it's very advisable just to brake a bit early, just to make sure. Difficult to brake downhill. So Gunnar takes P2 and is still very much on course to take the lead when Rich pits. It's just that big question mark at the moment over whether he can get to the end of the race on the tyres he's on. So James exits the pits and he is in P6. That's well behind him on track. Well, we know there's no way James is going to pull 9 seconds away from him barring any mistakes, so that's a free place for Whale come the end of this race. Potentially for Josh and Watson as well. Look at these guys. The Gunnar, Ryanair and Chris, 2, 3 and 4. Steersy is catching them. So Steersy just over 2 seconds off of Chris at the moment. Steersy will be over the moon that these guys are spaced out, by the way. That will make it so much easier for him to get past them. If these guys were all running in like a three-car train, it would make it almost impossible for Steersy to get past them, even with the extra grip. Or at least a lot more difficult at the very least, if not impossible. Fastest lap of the race, 29.3 from Steersy. Still find it quite strange he's gone to mediums, but I'm sure he's done his homework. The fact he's gone to mediums though, they're going to catch the tyre where they're hard, so I actually think for Gunnar, got to assume these three guys are going to try and get to the end of this race, or are going to get to the end of this race. So if that's the case, I think for Gunnar, the fact that Steersy's gone to mediums is actually a good thing for him. Not so good for Chris, because he's the next car up the road. But for Gunnar, who's then a further 7 seconds up the road, by the time Steersy catches him, their tyres are going to be pretty level, I reckon. Falcao, who's also gone on mediums, has set the fastest lap of the race. Here is Steersy on Chris then. Can he keep his Aston close enough to the back of the McLaren through Stowe? Might you get a look here? Just wondering. He took a wider line into that, I think, to try to maybe create a look on the inside, but it didn't materialise, so follow as normal. He's got overspeed here. He's got overspeed, but he has to slow down so as not to hit the back of the McLaren. He's going to try and get alongside for turns 1 and 2. Here they go. Oh, there's contact. It looked to me like Steersy hit the curb on the inside. Whether he feels that he was left enough room or not, I don't know. But that's what's happened. There's a Haas there exiting the pits. Was it a Haas? Yeah, it was. That was Rich. Rich is pitted from the race lead and he's out on soft tyres. He's now going to go after James, Chris, Ryan and Gunnar. Now, I do fear here for that Steersy's struggling to get round. I think Steersy's got rear wing damage. He absolutely clattered the wall with his rear wing. So I think he's got rear wing damage. We'll have to see if that gets submitted to the stewards or not. My initial thought was he's trying to go up the inside at turn 1. It catches the curb. But, you know, I only get one look at it when I'm doing a stream, so I only get one look. Whereas obviously the stewards will be able to have as many looks as they like. So, I don't know. I think it's something that the stewards maybe should have a look at. I think Steersy should submit it and have a look at it. But if Chris has left enough room for Steersy to keep his tyres, you know, his right tyres on the track, then he's done everything he's had to. So for me, the contact was that Steersy hit the curb, and it is a bouncy curb, that one, as you saw. You know it from the standard direction that you go in. It does make the car jump, and that for me is what's happened. As Josh picks up 10 seconds speed in the pit lane. Again, like I said, it's a downhill braking zone as we go side by side here. James and Rich. Rich is through. Josh retires out in the pits. The yellow flags are out. Hopefully, I think his car is exiting. Hopefully, it looks like it should come out with a nice big gap. So hopefully it won't actually affect anyone. Rich through, immediately now onto the back of Chris. He wants to take advantage of these super grippy soft tyres while he's got them, because he knows as well as anyone the grip won't last on the softs. He'll have 2-3 laps where he's got, maybe 4 laps where he's got super grip in comparison. And look at that, throws it up the inside, gets the car stopped, and he's up into P3. Ryan is next up the road, 1.8 ahead he was when Rich got the move done. That will immediately drop. It extends up, actually back up a little bit there, but it will through the corners, which will catch. Still going to take a monumental effort, in my opinion, for Rich to catch and overtake Gunnar. Still the same scenario. The tyre wear around this track is horrendous. Saw the yellow flag come out earlier on when Barry let Gunnar through. I believe that's what the yellow flag was that we saw earlier. But since then, Barry, by the way, has absolutely stuck with his teammate. His race-leading teammate. There's not a lot he can do in terms of defending him if Rich does catch. Whether Rich can catch Gunnar is going to seriously depend here, I think, on how quickly he can get dispatch Ryan. He's going to get a run here. No DRS down this straight, by the way, but has enough speed. Uses his overtake. Didn't really have any battery, but used his overtake, and that was enough to get him through. So 3.5 seconds. Oh, that's Gunnar in! Gunnar's in! He couldn't make the end of the race. Gunnar is in. Well, if Gunnar's got to pit, you've got to assume that the others have to pit as well. In which case, pitting under the VSC was a very bad decision. He's going to drop right. That he's going to lose out here to Gregory, who's in P10. He will get out ahead of Kev. So he's made his stop. Obviously, Sauber right at the end of the pit lane. So, but there you go. He's going to be out behind Gregory. And Gunnar's going to do well to even make up 2 places here. He's going to see that Steersy's the driver 2 cars up the road. What he won't necessarily know is that I'm 99% sure, I'm like 99.9 recurring % sure that Steersy has pretty bad rear wing damage. So I think that Gunnar will catch and pass Steersy. But I can't see him going much further than that. Be interesting to see if the likes of Ryan, Chris and Watson can get their tyres to the end when Gunnar couldn't. You've got to think that that's just handed a second race win here to Rich. You know, where a drop off on these softs is going to be horrendous, but I don't think it's going to be enough that 11 lap old hards are suddenly going to be able to lap fast enough to battle him. So I think, barring any unusual mistakes from Rich, I think he's going to get a double tonight. Touch wood as I say that, by the way. Ryan up 6, Chris up 12. Two fantastic races so far from those guys. They got James all over them. James has that 10-second penalty. So really, it's all about Whale. Can he fight his way through to the podium here with the fresher tyres? Incredibly. Strange thing here is that James is the problem here for Whale. He's got to hope that in the next lap or so, lap or 2 laps, James's tyres start dying on him and he can get past and then attack the 2 cars ahead. Potential podium for Whale, but to say, James is the problem. James may have a 10-second penalty, but that doesn't mean, well, he locks up there, James, and that makes the mistake. That brings the mistake that Whale so desperately needed, and Whale now can potentially go and chase a podium. Just a little lock-up from James, just sent the car wide and through. Goes well on the inside, takes full advantage. It's still going to be incredible. He may have 5-lap younger tyres here, Whale, but as long as these guys can get their tyres to the end without any explosions, shall we say, then it's still going to be incredibly difficult because they're obviously creating a train. So even though Whale's tyres are 5 laps younger, the 2 drive well. Chris is obviously getting DRS off of Ryan, which is going to make it so difficult to overtake him. If I was Whale here, I'm going to be honest, if I was Whale here, I'd be on a massive battery save. Look at the dirty air, how much it throws Whale wide. That gives James an opportunity to come back. No, it doesn't. James at the moment, by the way, actually wouldn't drop any places from that 10-second penalty. He's got 8.8 seconds at the moment to Ozers, who also has a penalty, which would drop him out of the 10. Watson isn't close enough, so at the moment, James would actually stay in P5. If anyone's going to change that, you would think Gunnar is the most likely, as Barry gets out of the way. Gunnar obviously charging at the moment on those fresh medium tyres. It's Whale. It's massive oversteer, and it's the dirty air causing that, you know. Usually you get the understeer effects from the dirty air. But that is very much an effect that you see massively through fast corners, the understeer. So Stowe, for example, through these corners as well. Slower corners, when you're exiting very close to the car ahead, it can cause oversteer. Oh, that's a mistake from Chris! That's a mistake, and that's almost certainly the dirty air that's forced him to run wide. And Whale is up into P3. Real chance, though, in my opinion. Just have a look at what penalty Ozers has got. He's got 3 seconds because he's really closing the gap to James. So I said James will hold on to P5, but at the moment, Ozers needs 2 more attempts, basically, to actually take that off of him. And if Ozers can do that, which is looking increasingly likely, I think that's Barry. It's one of the salvers, and I'm pretty sure it's Barry, yeah, just going by where he is on track. So, yeah, he's just dropped back out of the 7 seconds again, so it's going to be really tight. Whale round the outside of Ryanair for P2. He makes the move at Stowe. He has the DRS, surely. He can hold on. Just needs to be a bit careful. He's got a slight energy disadvantage, but it's only about 7 to 8%. Chris under attack from James as well, and that's what's allowing Ozers to gain. And that is James getting past Chris. James had to make that move because he needs to try and get Ozers back over 7 seconds, but that was looking impossible. Suddenly, this evening is looking a lot better for Ferrari. That's an Aston Martin, I'm assuming that's Steersy with that rear wing damage. It is indeed. We switch though to our race leader. And it's going to be a double win for Rich on the same night. Double victory, back to back, whatever you want to call it. Rich wins for the 2nd time in one night at Silverstone. Whale, what a drive to take P2. He will be absolutely over the moon. Ryanair, absolutely superb to take P3. Chris jumps to P4. James, with that penalty, is going to drop to 6. Ozers takes P5. Watson comes through for P7, just holding off Gunnar, who takes P8. Gregory is P9. It's only a 3-second pen, so he will hold that. Steersy will come through for P10. Well done for finishing the race, Steersy. Anybody who's driven with rear wing damage on the game before will know how difficult that is. So Steersy takes P10. Falcao is going to come round for P11. Kev takes P12. Barry's already finished in P14. It's going to be P12 for Kev. Had a top 10 in the first race, P12 in a second. Not bad going for Kev tonight at all. Different story for his teammate tonight, but that happens. And Gent finishes off then in P13. And you're not going to be too surprised when I say that my driver of the day for the second race is Whale. I actually thought for probably... Once Rich got into P1, I was almost dead set on making sure he got driver of the day for this race, but I think it has to go to Whale, in my opinion. Look, Rich, if you're out there listening, it's nothing against you. You've won both races. You don't need a driver of the day, man. If you watch the race back, you'll see why I've made my choices. Give you an honorary one. Fastest lap of that race, 128.873, went to Falcao. Let me just scroll through on that. Let's wait for the penalties to come up so they can be seen as well. We just go to the race director and scroll through. There we have it. There we go, guys. That was our first wildcard of the Tuesday season. Double header at Silverstone. Normal way round on the first race. Reversed track on the second race. Really, really well done to the drivers tonight. Handled that very well. Very little in the way of incidents. There was quite a big incident at the start of the first race off the line that did affect quite a few drivers. We had the incident in that race between Steersy and Chris. But other than that, it was pretty low in terms of incidents, I have to say. But there we have it, guys. That is our Silverstone double header. Well done especially to everyone that finished both races. So well done to all you guys. Massive well done to Rich. Obviously a double winner tonight. So huge well done. And I'm giving him an honorary driver of the day, which I'm afraid won't earn you a point, Rich. But I'm giving you an honorary driver of the day. Massive congratulations to the top 3 from both races. And congratulations to Gooner, who took driver of the day in the first race, and to Whale, who took driver of the day in the second race, to get themselves an additional point, and their teams, of course. Other than that, guys, that is about it. It's been quite a long one for me tonight, so I am going to say good night, God bless. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy it if you watch it back. Other than that, I'll see you next week. Good night.